Hi, this is Robert Cahoon, Director of International Campaigns for 40 Days for Life, and today we are talking about abortion centres that used to be houses of prayer. Well, did you know that Marie Stopes in Ealing in West London has a plaque to St Michael the Archangel on the very side of the building? And the building used to be a house of prayer owned by a lady called Dorothy Kerrin from 1929. She used to have prayer services in the building. She also adopted a large number of children. They had healing services in the building. And tragically, in the 1960s, Dorothy Kerrin died, and her centre, the Burswood Centre, moved out into the countryside. Subsequently, the building was bought by an abortion provider, and today it is a building for Marie Stopes International, one of the largest abortion providers in the world that do nearly 1 in 10 abortions around the world. So we've had this extraordinary transfer of spiritual ownership from a centre for life of prayer to now, today, the building being a centre of death as well. Well, 40 Days for Life have been holding prayer vigils since Lent 2013 outside of this Marie Stopes abortion centre in Ealing. The most successful prayer vigil, we saw 23 women who were scheduled for an abortion during one 40 Days for Life campaign choose life for their unborn child and go for an appointment with the local crisis pregnancy centre. Dorothy Kerrin was walking through a garden one day and she said, "I love growing things, don't you?" How tragic this building today is now an abortion centre that sees approximately 7,000 plus abortions a year, right up to 24 weeks. And today, where there is a buffer zone around the abortion centre, there are still people praying year-round outside the buffer zone, praying and offering help and support to women who are in need. Not only this, we also have an abortion centre in London, in Twickenham in West London. Now, this abortion centre used to be a nuns' convent. They held a hostel for students in the 1960s. But today the building has been bought and it is now a late-term abortion centre run by the British Pregnancy Advisory Service. Again, the same spiritual transfer of ownership from a building where prayers, masses, the Eucharist took place in that building. There was a chapel, and in that building today, it is now a place where very later you see women who are heavily pregnant going for an abortion in that abortion centre. How beautiful, how wonderful it would be if we could see that culture of ownership, spiritual ownership, change once again, so that building is not a centre of death but a centre of life and a centre to celebrate life and appreciate life. Of course, the 40 Days for Life headquarters is located in a building that used to be a Planned Parenthood building, a large abortion provider in Bryan College Station, and today is now the international headquarters of 40 Days for Life. Well, in London, we want to witness that spiritual transfer of ownership from a culture of death from these buildings to a culture of life. And the movement in this country has been towards abortion being anonymous, early abortions, pills at home, abortions at home now taking place. Half of them are taking place in people's homes, nurse-led, away from doctors and medicalisation. It might well be that these buildings are no longer used in the near future as abortion goes into doctors' surgeries, into people's homes, and becomes more spread out over society. But this is one thing that you might be able to pray for. Pray for the spiritual transfer of ownership, that buildings that have formerly been either prayer buildings, religious houses, that are now abortion centres. Pray for these centres that they may come to glorify God and celebrate life and appreciate the beauty of being alive. Thank you for watching today. So we heard a beautiful testimony of a woman who was going for an abortion in Ealing, and she was inside the abortion centre. She was holding the abortion pill in her hand, and they got her blood results wrong, and the nurse said that she should not go ahead with the abortion. There were nuns praying outside and saying that we are praying for you. She walked out the building not having taken that abortion pill. She gave her testimony at our kickoff event several years ago. Just to think, she was holding the abortion pill in her hand. She was seconds away from having that abortion. In Ealing, another woman was being forced into an abortion in that very centre through her family, being coerced into abortion. She jumped out of the window of the abortion centre in order to escape the family who were pushing her, coercing her into the abortion. She jumped over a couple of fences to run away from that situation. And thanks be to God, her child is alive today. Not every abortion is dramatic as those two, but sometimes God can intervene at the last moment, the last second, for a piece of hope and love in our community. Dorothy Kerrin, the former owner of the building in Ealing until 1948, had a motto: where God guides, God provides. And the fact that this abortion centre is now home to a large abortion provider is a tragic betrayal of the life and mission of Dorothy Kerrin. The abortion industry is well funded, well supported, its views are strongly entrenched in society, but we are taking a stand for unborn children, we're taking a stand for life, we're outside many of these buildings, and we trust in God's providence and that He will lead us to victory.